race number 2 for Blue Fleet on May 1st. Wind is still up at around 10 to 15 miles an hour. Air temperature is cooling slightly down into the upper 50s. Got somewhere in the vicinity of 15 boats out there in Red Fleet, which is boats that have a Portsmouth of 93 and above, and around 5 or 6 boats out there in Blue Fleet, which is Portsmouth's below 93. Running the start line from the committee boat end from the starboard side on out, just seeing if a starboard start is possible. And right now I'm not even going to lay the pin, so due to the constraints we place on ourselves at Creve Coeur, a starboard start will not work for this starting line, which means I can aim at the windward end of the port side of the line and have no fear of someone trying to get me on starboard. Now we're down to 2 minutes. Wind is up. I don't need to stay too close to the line, but I don't want to get too far away from it either. Seconds. Now we're going to jibe, keep our speed up, work our way back to the line. Threading our way in and around the Red Fleet traffic. Till the start. Looks like we have a few boats that are running the line up there. We've still got a little time before we need to accelerate to get there. Gonna hold up just for a moment to make sure that we don't get there early. We want to be able to speed up and be at full power when we get to the starting line. Okay, 30 seconds until start. Now it's time to get out of our waiting mode. Takes a little bit. Okay, here we are at 15 seconds. Time to sheet on. We're pulling it in. Looks like MC Scow's there in front of us. He's going to be a little bit early to the line, so he has to run the line. Here's the start. We're going to get a good start. Had a laser that was way above the line. The Y-Flyer is a boat likes to have its gunnel just touching the water on the leeward side, but not beyond that. So you can see I'm working the Traveler to make sure that we don't go too far over, much beyond the gunnel in the water, and you just start dumping air, and you have to turn the rudder so hard that you're actually slowing yourself down. Now here, if you look right over my shoulder, you'll see the windward mark coming into view. We're making good time going upwind, and due to our position, we've been able to stay upwind of everybody and claw out a lead. Now we're starting to look at the mark and gauge where it is. Okay, we're at the ley line, tacking. Generally, you've got a good idea that you're at the ley line, for me at least, if I have to look around from the back of the boat over my shoulder rather than over my bow-facing shoulder. Just add just a little bit of insurance. And here we're just moving on toward the mark. Okay, around the mark, getting the boat set up for downwind, getting some vang on to keep the boom down and use every little bit of power out of the puffs. Got the barber hauler set. That's the small line at the gunnel that's pulling the jib sheet down. Opens up the slot, allows the air to move better. Having my crew move to the lower side, and here we're getting the whisker pole set, and we're only about halfway to the jibe mark, but doing it early is good. Here we approach the jibe mark. All we're going to do is open up a little bit with the main, but we're going to put the whisker pole out on the upwind side of the boat to bring more air behind the mainsail, keep our speed up. At this point, we've got the centerboard probably half to 3/4 the way up, because we're not worried as much about drifting downwind. Here we're approaching the leeward mark. We've undone the vang, and we're starting to get everything reset for going upwind. Pulling in a fair amount of the main sheet so that we can have a nice rounding and be set quickly on the other side. Wind's a little bit shifty down towards the leeward mark in by the hill. And their crew is pointing out the bearing to the next mark, going back up to the windward mark. Blue Fleet for these races does 2 laps. First lap you go around the windward mark, the jibe mark, and the leeward mark. The second lap you go around the windward mark, the leeward mark, and then straight into the finish. Here again we see me working the traveler to make sure that the leeward gunnel doesn't go too deep into the water, and we keep our speed up. Working the traveler is a lot better than working the main in these puffs, because the traveler I can move the main in and out much faster than moving 2 to 3 times the amount of line in the main sheet. It also holds the sail's shape and keeps the speed up. Here we're approaching the windward mark for the second time. Got a Creve 14-2 that's just rounding. And here's the mark. Tack around the mark and get the boat set up to go back downwind again. So at this point we just need to get around the leeward mark again, which is up there underneath that hill on the left, and then go back upwind to the finish line. there I'm letting the outhaul out a little bit so that I can make a fuller mainsail, give us more power on this broad reach to run. Here we're moving, balancing the boat out from left to right and forward to back. You never want to sit too far back in your boat because you'll drag the stern and just slow you down. Here my crew is actually flying the jib by hand as we come into the leeward mark. We've got some traffic with the Red Fleet, but it looks like we're going to find a little slot here. And thankfully one of the sunfish is giving us some room, so we'll make a tidy jibe around the mark and head our way upwind. Shifty in towards shore with the northwest wind, and so here where you'd think you'd be close hulled, we're having to work our sails all the way in. At this point we're just trying to keep the boat moving fast so that we don't allow the next boat, an MC scow, any chance to come up behind us and possibly snatch a place from us by handicap. MC scow is about 1 point higher on the Portsmouth scale, and so that means he needs to be within about 10 to 15 seconds of us to finish and beat us. But I think we've got it. Good times.